Sunrise is an Australian breakfast television program, broadcast on the Seven network and currently hosted by David Koch and Samantha Armytage. The program follows Seven early news and runs from 5:30 a.m. to 9:15 a.m., followed by the morning show. History. The history of Sunrise can be traced back to at least the 17th of January 1991, when 11 a.m. news presenter Darren McDonald began presenting an early morning Seven News Sunrise edition bulletin prior to hostilities breaking out during the Gulf War. In 1996, Seven introduced a one-hour weekday bulletin called Sunrise News, later renamed Sunrise. Seven recruited Chris Barth from NBN Television to present the bulletin alongside Peter Ford. Ford moved to other presenting roles in 1996 and was replaced by finance editor David Koch. In 1997, Chris Barth was transferred to Seven's 10:30 p.m. news and was replaced by Melissa Doyle. In 1998, Sunrise was presented by Doyle and Nick McArdle. Seven launched a Sunday bulletin hosted by Stan Grant, entitled Sunday Sunrise, in 1997. Weekday Sunrise was cancelled in 1999, replaced by children's program The Big Breakfast. Seven maintained half-hourly news updates during The Big Breakfast, and the Sunday bulletin was not affected by the axing. Other temporary Sunrise hosts up until this time include Ann Fulwood, Lee Hatcher and Nick McArdle. During the Sydney 2000 Olympics, Andrew Daddo and Johanna Griggs presented Olympic Sunrise from a leased apartment near Lavender Bay, New South Wales, in Sydney, which provided the Sydney Harbour Bridge and Sydney Opera House as waterside backdrops. On the 1st of May 2000, the program was replaced by a new version of Sunrise produced by Adam Boland. It was hosted by Georgie Gardner and Melbourne sport reporter Mark Beretta and music video program AMV. According to Boland's Brekkie Central, in late 2001 producers had created a plan to take over Today on Channel 9 as the leader at breakfast, which had taken inspiration from Fox, America's Fox and Friends. Set to debut in March 2002, the multi-million-dollar production would have its own dedicated studio and fronted by Australian radio personality Andrew Daddo and Lisa Forrest. However, a month before its launch, the network's board axed the idea and believed money could be better spent. In March 2002, Seven revamped the breakfast television schedule with 7 early news at 6 a.m., hosted by Chris Reason, and a new version of Sunrise from 6:30 a.m. to 9 a.m., hosted by Reason and Melissa Doyle. Sunrise from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. began in February the same year. David Koch was brought in to present the finance reports. In October of that year, Reason discovered he had another cancerous tumor behind his kidney and had to resign from his position. 4 years earlier he had undergone treatment for another growth. Koch was appointed temporary presenter, a position later made permanent. Sunrise was yet again revamped soon after Koch's appointment, focusing less on hard news and became more family-friendly. The show, along with its rival Today on 9, have become more tabloid-focused. This has boosted ratings by moving people away from morning radio and the newspaper to the TV. In 2003, the show began to pick up ratings, and appointed Natalie Barr to present the news updates, followed by the appointment of former Network 10 journalist Grant Denyer to present weather reports, then the reappointment of Mark Beretta, who was brought in to present sports updates. The new plan to take on Today, and since with the ratings rise was some dramatic point of difference, which included news updates every 30 minutes, big interviews, less formal presenting than a news bulletin, the soapbox, Roswell, natural chemistry, chemistry but most importantly a shift in viewers' interest. Koch and Mel, as they became informally known, replied less on scripts but more on talking points. They would debate the issues of the day and the viewers would heavily influence those topics. On the 30th of August 2004, Sunrise, 7 News Sydney and 7 Morning News moved from the studios in Epping to the new 7 News Centre at in Martin Place. On the 29th of January 2007, Sunrise had a complete makeover with changes to the set and on-screen graphics. Due to continued viewer feedback, the Sunrise set changed again on the 10th of June 2007. Specifically, the new set includes more of the city into its shots by the installation of smart glass. This glass, similar to that on the new Boeing 787, allows for the transparency of the glass to be adjusted, ranging from clear to partially transparent to completely opaque, showing as a solid blue. These changes have proved useful in shielding viewers from the actions of some passers-by. Notably, cast members of the ABC show The Chasers War on Everything. The set was also modified so the morning show's set could fit into the Martin Place Current Affairs studio. In October 2009, it was announced that at the start of 2010, Sunrise will receive a brand new set, a format, graphics and logo on the 25th of January 2010. In April 2010, Sunrise added a feature show that shows a selection of highlights from the previous day's Sunrise. The show is known as Sunrise Extra. Sunrise Extra airs at 5 a.m. each weekday prior to 7 Early News. In 2011, there was much speculation that Melissa Doyle would be leaving the show to present Today Tonight and that David Koch may be moved to a primetime position. However, Doyle continued with the show for her 10th consecutive year in 2012, as did Koch. On the 29th of February 2012, Sunrise celebrated its 10th anniversary with Doyle and Koch. Doyle is the only original presenter remaining from the March 2002 launch. At the time, Chris Reason was her co-host and Koch was the finance analyst. Koch started presenting Sunrise on a permanent basis from the 4th of October 2002. In May 2013, Sunrise started broadcasting once a week from the 7 Network's Melbourne studios to try and capture a growing Melbourne audience. Today has been winning the Melbourne market since 2008. The show is broadcast from the station's AFL Game Day set. On the 20th of June 2013, during the program, Doyle announced that she was leaving Sunrise after 14 years to front a new primetime network news initiative. She stated, "It's with that experience and support from the team that I'm able to take this next step. I'm honored that the network has given me this incredible new opportunity and I am unbelievably excited about the new challenges ahead." Quote. It was later announced that Samantha Armytage would be replacing Doyle as co-host alongside Koch. In February 2016, Sunrise received a new set and graphics and was extended by 30 minutes to start at 5:30 a.m., matching the starting time of Rival Today. This resulted in 7 Early News being moved to the 5 a.m. time slot and Sunrise Extra being cancelled. Edwina Bartholomew announced that she will be departing her role as weather presenter, with Sam Mack announced as her replacement. Special editions. Prior to 2010, Sunrise occasionally aired 2 special Saturday editions. This included, since 2003 to 22 March 2003, David Koch and Melissa Doyle hosted the special edition of Sunrise covering the latest on the Iraq War as it happened. This also saw the rise of Natalie Barr as news presenter. The 24th of November 2007, a special edition hosted by Andrew O'Keefe and Samantha Armytage covering the final day of the 2007 election campaign. Talitha Cummins presented the news, while Kylie Gillies presented the sport. The 17th of July 2010, a special edition hosted by Larry Emger and Rebecca Madden, covering from 7 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Australian Prime Minister Julia Gillard's trip to Government House to talk with the Governor-General, Quentin Bryce, and her press conference at Government House about an election to be held on the 21st of August, and Tony Abbott's press conference in Brisbane. Sarah Cumming presented the news, Simon Reeve presented the sport, and James Tobin presented the weather. The weeks of 10 to 14 January and 17 to 21 January, sunrise was extended to start at 5 a.m. and going on past 9 a.m. on these mornings to cover the ongoing 2010-2011 Queensland floods and 2011 Victorian floods, with 7 News picking up the rest of the coverage. As a result, the tennis coverage was moved to 7:02 and sunrise extended to finish at 10 a.m. The 22nd of February 2011, David Koch reported live from Christchurch on the Christchurch earthquake 2011. The 26th of January 2012, sunrise aired live from a mini barge celebrating Australia Day on Sydney Harbour. Some viewers were given the opportunity to join the sunrise team after entering an online competition. The 16th of December 2014, sunrise reported live from 4 a.m. to 9 a.m. for the coverage of the 2014 Sydney hostage crisis. Musical guests. A number of musical guests have appeared on Sunrise and performed live action. The show, like the rest of the studio, the stage area gives people on the street a chance to view the performances. Occasionally, musical guests perform on the plaza on a temporary stage erected in Martin Place. Musical performances normally take place at 7:50 a.m. and 8:50 a.m., with most guests playing 2 songs. Musical guests who have appeared on Sunrise include Demi Lovato, Miley Cyrus, Fergie, Paulini, Young Divas, Pink, Sam Sparrow, The Veronicas, The Wiggles, Hinder, Take That, Keith Urban, Joss Stone, Eskimo Joe, Sneaky Sound System, Thirsty Merc, Missy Higgins, Josh Groban, Girls Aloud, Human Nature, Grinspoon, Avril Lavigne, Patricio Buon, Small Mercies, The Androids, Michael Bublé, Maroon 5, Crowded House, Silverchair, Paul Kelly, Colby Calais, Gym Class Heroes, Editors, Jose Gonzalez, Josh Pike, Daddy Cool, Something for Kate, The Whitlams with the Sydney Symphony Orchestra, The Cat Empire, Rogue Traders, Kelly Clarkson, The Last Good Night, Ben Lee, Anthony Collier, Delta Goodrum, David Campbell, Kate Miller, Heidke, Tina Arena, High Five, Mika, Operator Pleased, Newton Faulkner, Kelly Rowland, Guy Sebastian, All for One, Simple Plan, Ian Moss, The Pussycat Dolls, Ozzy Osbourne, Lady Gaga, Justin Bieber, Usher Raymond, Alexandra Burke, Amy Meredith, Neo, The Choir Boys, Florence Plus the Machine, Michael Painter, Katy Perry, Little Red, Cody Simpson, Ricky Lee Coulter, Sophie Ellis Bextor, Susan Boyle and Reese Maston, Samantha Jade, One Direction, PSY, Sam and the Womp and Coldplay, Sia Furler. Weekend Sunrise. In 2005, the 7 Network replaced its struggling Sunday morning program Sunday Sunrise with a program called Weekend Sunrise, which originally was an hour-long program with an identical format to Sunrise, hosted by Chris Reason and Lisa Wilkinson. The program was successful, and various critiques at the time called for the program to be lengthened to 2 hours and be extended to Saturday mornings as well as Sunday. In 2006, Weekend Sunrise was extended from an hour to a 2-hour show, running every Sunday from 8 a.m. till 10 a.m. When Sports World returned for the football season, Weekend Sunrise settled into a 90-minute format from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. After Sports World series concluded, the show returned to a 2-hour format. Andrew O'Keefe initially temporarily replaced host Chris Reason in 2006, but after improved ratings he was given the hosting position permanently. In 2007, Wilkinson moved to the 9 network to host Today and was replaced by Samantha Armytage. In 2008, Weekend Sunrise moved the start time 30 minutes earlier to 7:30 a.m. to match the new start time of 9's Sunday program. The program continued to run through to 10 a.m., meaning that the program had a 2.5-hour running time. In 2009, the program's start time was moved even earlier. Originally, it was announced that Today on Sunday, the replacement of the long-running 9's Sunday, would run from 7:30 a.m. to 9 a.m., but this was changed on the 28th of January 2009 to 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. As a result, 7 announced that Weekend Sunrise would also commence at 7 a.m. and run to 10 a.m., meaning the program would go for 3 hours, the same as the weekday version of Sunrise. On the 13th of February 2010, 7 announced that Weekend Sunrise would extend to Saturdays to compete against Weekend Today. The Saturday edition airs in the same time slot as Weekend Today. Saturday Disney, which previously occupied the time slot, now airs its last two-thirds of the program on 7/2. The original Saturday team consisted of Samantha Armytage co-hosting with Larry M. Dewar with Sarah Cumming, Simon Reeve and James Tobin presenting news, sport and weather respectively. In June 2013, Melissa Doyle announced that she would be leaving Sunrise for a national network role with Samantha Armytage replacing her. Monique Wright initially replaced Armytage on Weekend Sunrise, but it was not until February 2014 in which Wright was made a permanent co-host on the show. In January 2016, Talitha Cummins announced that she is expecting her first child. In February 2016, Angela Koch joined and filled in for Monique Wright as co-host of the show whilst she was on maternity leave, and Sally Bowery became the entertainment presenter. In May 2016, Sally Bowery announced she is expecting her second child. O'Keefe and Wright are currently hosts with Talitha Cummins, Simon Reeve and James Tobin presenting news, sport and weather respectively. Format: like most other breakfast television shows, Sunrise blends a mixture of news every 30 minutes, interviews and light-hearted feature pieces into 3 hours each morning. Often they will go out and present the show from other locations, such as Hawaii, Las Vegas, Athens, Disneyland, Beijing and Melbourne for the Commonwealth Games, Beaconsfield in Tasmania and Dreamworld on the Gold Coast. A major feature of the show is that the viewer can send in the responses to stories via email, SMS, phone, Facebook and Twitter. Viewers can also bring up issues they want reviewed or investigated, and it is recorded on the Roswell. News and traffic reports. Local news updates following the national news updates at 6 a.m., 7 a.m., and 8 a.m. were launched on the 28th of May 2007, offering viewers in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Adelaide, Hobart, and Perth news specific to the city. Prior to this, local weather and capital city traffic updates had already been inserted into the program. These were removed in June 2008, following the commencement of 7 early news, due to logistical reasons. Traffic reports are shown at 4 regular intervals during the show, and AMP are presented from a private helicopter. Traffic reports only air into the metropolitan markets of Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane. They are produced and presented by traffic reporters from the Australian Traffic Network. Sydney, Amelia De Vita. Melbourne, Sarah Duffy. Brisbane, Dave Andrews. Former traffic reporters include Nicola Wood, Sally Ann Ryan, Diana Bruman, Nicola Wood, Lorena Toulmin and Jimmy Worthington. Hosts, fill-in presenters. Current 7 presenters who have been fill-in hosts or co-hosts of Sunrise in recent times include Natalie Barr, Edwina Bartholomew, Monique Wright, Mark Barretta, Andrew O'Keefe and Larry M. Jure. Fill-in presenters for other roles. News: Edwina Bartholomew, Sophie Hull and Sally Burry. Sport: Simon Reeve, Ryan Fellin and Jim Wilson. Weather: Nuala Hafner, James Tobin and Tom Williams. Other 7 presenters who have either filled in or presented Sunrise in the past include Kelly Sloan, Matt White, Mike Munro, Nick McCardle, Ben Davis, Chris Reason, Bruce McAvaney, Jennifer Keat, Sarah Cumming, Ann Sanders, Jessica Rowe, Emmy Kuberinski, Rosanna Mangiarelli, Sharon Godella and Ben Damon. Regulars. Former hosts: Chris Reason was the original co-host with Melissa Doyle, while Monique Wright, David Brown and Fifi Box were previous weather presenters. Brown resigned from his role in July 2008 with no replacement until 2009, during which various presenters filled in, being Fifi Box. On the 24th of January 2010 it was announced that the original presenter Grant Denyer would return to the weather and Fifi Box would move to entertainment. In March 2013, Denyer resigned as weather presenter for the second time to spend more time with his family. In June 2013, Doyle announced that she was moving to a network primetime role with the 7 Network and would be leaving Sunrise after 14 years. Samantha Armytage was to be her immediate replacement. This came not long after Denyer resigned as weather presenter, with his replacement being former Sydney correspondent Edwina Bartholomew. Doyle's final regular appearance as host on Sunrise aired on the 9th of August 2013. In January 2016, Edwina Bartholomew announced that she would be leaving her role as weather presenter to join David Koch, Samantha Armytage, Natalie Barr and Mark Barretta at the desk. Controversies. In 2003, an interview aired live with Sue Butler from the Macquarie Dictionary on the topic of swearing and what was acceptable. Sue Butler: today's taboos are all about labels that you use for people, so that the sentence, "you are a," is practically a no-no. You cannot use David Koch, even if you use boofhead. Sue Butler: even if you use boofhead because you're putting it in the same context as things which are clearly rude. You know, you are a fuckwit. Well, obviously we know that's bad. Doyle and Koch immediately ended the interview and apologized afterwards. This did not prevent angry viewers writing and emailing in complaints over the interview. In 2006, a number of people including Sunrise presenters David Koch and Melissa Doyle, news presenter Natalie Barr, executive producer Adam Boland and Melbourne news presenter Jennifer Keat and former Today Tonight host Naomi Robson faced court convictions over a story run in 2004 relating to a 14-year-old boy who divorced his mother. Under the Victorian Children and Young Persons Act, it is prohibited to publish the identity of a child involved in children's court proceedings. While the Sunrise cast and crew were cleared of any wrongdoing, the 7 Network itself was ultimately held responsible. Upon the rescue of trapped miners Brand Webb and Todd Russell in the aftermath of the Beaconsfield mine collapse, David Koch was invited into an ambulance. This led to rival Channel 9 and Today calling him an ambulance chaser. In 2004, David Koch read the joke of the day, which received public outcry. The Sunrise website quoting Koch's joke of the day as being rested today after a controversial one yesterday. He got in a little strife from his big bosses. We're currently deciding whether to keep Koch's joke. What do you think? The joke went along the lines of, John Howard went skiing and his bodyguard saw John Howard is a dork, peed into the snow. Johnny went off and told his guard to get a sample of it and find out who did it at all costs. The guard returned a day later and said, "We have good and bad news." Johnny asked what the good news was, and the guard retorted that it was Kim Beasley's urine. Johnny says, "Right, he's stuffed now, throw the book at him. What's the bad news?" The guard grins and says it was in Jeanette's handwriting. To this day, Howard still has not forgiven Koch over the joke and still refuses to appear on Sunrise. In April 2007, reports surfaced that the show was lobbying Vietnamese authorities to hold an Anzac Day dawn service early so it could be broadcast live on television in Australia. Koch denied on air that any such lobbying had occurred. His claim was proven false upon the release of email communications from the office of then-opposition leader Kevin Rudd. After considerable political fallout over the alleged request, opposition leader Kevin Rudd and Liberal Minister Joe Hockey decided to end the regular weekly appearances on the program. On the 18th of March 2008 episode, Koch and Oil were ambushed by a group of protesters chanting and carrying placards that claimed Channel 7 doesn't pay, a reference to controversies surrounding the reported non-payment of winnings to National Bingo Night audience members and home viewers. The group, posing as fans of guest Keith Urban, were moved away by security. Koch later blamed the incident on the Nine Network's A Current Affair, a theory that was lent credence when the same protesters appeared on that night's episode of the program. Both Koch and co-host Melissa Doyle promised to look into their allegations but later simply read a statement from the network. In April 2010, a scheduled concert for Canadian teen singer Justin Bieber at Circular Quay, Sydney, was cancelled at 5 a.m. by order of police after the crowd of more than 5,000 people had begun a crowd crush and were ignoring the orders of the crowd controllers. 8 people were taken to hospital for their injuries and others suffered from hyperventilation. The concert was then moved to the Sunrise Studios at Martin Place. Sunrise had been promoting the concert for 2 weeks beforehand, creating a significant amount of excitement and anticipation. It was also alleged that Bieber swore at a floor manager but was reassured by Bieber's regular sound technician that he tells us that all the time. Bieber, however, has denied this, publicly denouncing the claims as lies and rumors spread by adults. The concert for singer Usher, scheduled for the 21st of May, more than 3 weeks after the Bieber incident, required fans to register for a free ticket online in order to attend the concert. However, the tickets quickly ran out as a result of scalpers. When more tickets were promised later in the week, the website crashed as soon as the ticket distribution began, causing many fans to miss out. When Bieber returned to perform on the show on the 18th of July 2012, a number of measures were put in place to avoid the issues that arose in these previous instances. Special editions. During 2008's World Youth Day in Sydney, Sunrise was extended on Thursday the 17th of July and Monday, the 21st of July to cover the Pope's morning masses and the departure of the Pope respectively. Both of those editions ended at 9:30 a.m. with the morning show picking up the rest of the coverage. Sunrise was extended well past 9 a.m. on the morning of the 13th of October 2010 to cover the 2010 Copiapo mining accident. As a result, the morning show did not air. On the 27th of February 2012, Sunrise was extended to 12 p.m. to cover the Labour leadership ballot. The morning show did not air. On the 30th of October 2012, Sunrise was extended to 1 p.m. to cover Hurricane Sandy. On the 22nd of January 2013, Sunrise commenced at 3 a.m. and concluded at 10 a.m. to cover the inauguration of Barack Obama. normal early morning programming, and Dr. Oz did not air. On the 29th of January, Sunrise was extended to 11 a.m. to cover flooding in southern Queensland and northern New South Wales. As a result, the morning show did not air. Following the birth of Prince George of Cambridge, Melissa Doyle fronted an extended edition of the program for 2 days, live from outside Buckingham Palace, with contribution from Martin Frizzell, Mike Amor and Robert Jobson, who had also been covering the lead-up to the birth of the baby for Sunrise and 7 News. David Koch and Samantha Armytage also appeared in a reduced role back in the studio. The extended version began at 5 a.m., replacing Sunrise Extra and the early news, with Doyle also contributing reports to the morning show, which began at its regular time of 9 a.m. Ratings. Sunrise and its 9 network rival Today remain close in the ratings, with Network 10's Wake Up, which has since been axed, behind both of them in the ratings race. However, Sunrise remains on top daily, with the gap between the two often being more than 50,000 plus viewers. On Good Friday, 2009, Sunrise suffered its first one-day ratings defeat nationally against Today since 2004. In 2011, Sunrise suffered its first weekly ratings defeat against Today since the same year.